What's up guys, I'm Random Frank P. Today we're going to review the new Corsair Scimitar Pro RGB mouse. And taking a look at it, you can see with all these side buttons, it's obviously advertised as a MOBA or an MMO mouse. But we're going to take a look at it in this review for you guys, go over its features, talk about what is new in this Pro version, some pros and cons, all that good stuff in case you want to pick up the Scimitar Pro. First off, visually, it looks exactly the same as the original Scimitar. It's a little bit on the bigger side, I'd say, at 4.7 inches long and a little over 3 inches wide. So depending on your hand size, you might need to kind of change up your grip. It's definitely one of the heftier mice I've used. However, it's still comfortable to use. On the right side of the mouse, you have this kind of texture grip for your ring and pinky finger to rest on, so that's good. Going over the buttons, on top you have your DPI and profile switching button below the scroll wheel. Then the main selling point, like I said, on the left side of the mouse where your thumb sits are those 12 mechanical buttons. And these are obviously going to be great for performing macros or certain functions when gaming. And out of the box, these are already programmed for you. You can switch up between the 3 profiles instantly. So pretty much if you think about it, you have 36 macros at your thumb's reach at all times. Additionally, inside the box, they include a little hex key because on the bottom, there's this little screw that you can loosen, which is gonna let the macro buttons there slide back and forth around this 8mm travel distance here. And this is just so you can kind of adjust that to get the most comfortable grip for pressing those buttons with your thumb. That's something really unique on a mouse. I can definitely appreciate the innovation. And before we move on, when I do a lot of my keyboard reviews, I often do sound tests. You could hear how it sounds. And since there's a lot of buttons in the Scimitar Pro, I figured why not do a sound test for the mouse as well. So what's new with this Pro version of the Scimitar versus the original? Let's talk about that for a minute. First off, like I already mentioned, out of the box, all the 12 buttons on the side come pre-programmed for you, which is great. But obviously you can still go into the software and change it up or make your own macros if you please. We also now have hardware playback, so your profiles and even things like some of the lighting effects are saved on board, which means you can take this mouse to a different PC at your friend's house, and everything that you have saved on the mouse is going to be already configured for you. And then most importantly of all, they're using a brand new PixArt sensor inside. I'm pretty sure a lot of the newer Logitech mice use a similar PixArt sensor, and that's great because the G502, which is my main mouse, has that same sensor inside. So having that consistency and a very accurate sensor is going to be great for gaming. Here they're using a PMW 3367, and they've bumped up the DPI from 12,000 to 16,000 now. Now say what you want about the high DPIs being a marketing gimmick or whatever, but if you think about it, we're in 2017 and we're having these very high resolution displays now, and often people have more than one. I have 3 high-res displays behind me for my gaming setup, so I can kind of justify the higher 16,000 DPI a little bit more. Now, am I using all 3 when I'm gaming? No, odds are I'm using just 1, 2 if a game's gonna require a really long landscape of gaming. But I mean, you can kind of justify that, like I said, a little bit more now, and it's gonna be pretty cool that you have that high DPI range. But one thing that is crazy I've never actually seen on a mouse before is you can actually change your DPI in increments of 1. So you can set it to like 836 or something odd like that, I don't know. But that's getting crazy precise. Now you're probably not going to use this as an FPS mouse or anything. Like I said earlier, it's on the bigger side and much heavier than a mouse that I would want to use for FPS games, but you still can, and I've had no problem with it, and that new accurate PixArt sensor really does the job. So again, an MMO or an MOBA mouse here. Do you need all the buttons on the side? Probably not. I've never needed to use 12 macros in a game or something like that, but I'm not really into MOBAs myself. I'm sure people who are heavily into them can utilize that, but like I said in videos prior, like with the Logitech G600, this is going to be great for photo or video editing. Just pressing, one button with my thumb instead of sometimes pressing 2 or 3 keys on the keyboard to perform a certain action when video editing, in the end it's just going to save you a lot of time, and I find that very useful. And also on the side for these 12 macro buttons, every other column here is textured. So that's gonna kind of help you get a better sense of where your thumb is resting at all times without having to actually look down at it. And quickly shifting gears, let's take a look at the software. The Corsair Q software, it's really easy to make adjustments. You click on one key or button for the mouse that you want to change. You can pick between the ones that they have already stocked there recommended for you. Or again, just like other software programs, you can record your own macros and stuff like that. And then again, changing the DPI in the software is just like every other mouse out there pretty much. But now you can really customize that DPI for those precise headshots. They don't make it complex or anything, which is good for people, who want to just get this up and running, or if they want to make a quick change. Corsair in the past has been known kind of for their not so user-friendly software, so I'm glad this is nice and simple. And of course, it's 2017, there's gonna be some RGB lighting integrated here. I'm not gonna go into it too much, but for this mouse, there are 4 different lighting zones that you could switch up for different colors or adding certain effects to them. And if you got something like the Polaris mousepad, you can link the colors and effects together, so it's gonna look kind of cool on your desk. You get the idea by now. RGB for days. So at the end of the day, the Scimitar Pro, I believe, is $80, when the original Scimitar is $60, I believe I've seen it for. So you're gonna have to decide if this upgrade is worth it for you. I could say that if you want an absolute top-of-the-line gaming sensor with their new PixArt sensor inside, and that 16,000 DPI with the 1 DPI increment change is definitely crazy. But if not, maybe the original Scimitar is just right for you and your budget. And I'll also say that I'm not the biggest fan of its overall, size and weight. It's a little bit bulkier than I would prefer, but again, I play more FPS games than I do MOBAs or MMOs. But at the end of the day, having those 12 macros is really great. Altogether, it's just a very solid and nice mouse, and I would say I'm a fan of it. Something like this where you can take advantage of all the macros and even that sliding mechanism, something I'm a big fan of, and I'm sure that the consumers out there who would use this is probably your best option out there. I'll put this mouse, the Scimitar Pro, as well as the original in the description down below so you can check it out. That's gonna wrap it up, guys, for my review of the Corsair Scimitar Pro RGB gaming mouse. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked this video, definitely give it a big thumbs up to show your support. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at RandomFrankP. And last, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Well, I'm Random Frank P. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good day.